Do you know you're a sinner? And then if the person says yes, then the next step, would you like to go to heaven? If they say yes, the next step, well then repeat this prayer. And if they repeat that prayer, then the next step, well, did God save you? And usually the answer is something like this: I don't know. And then the witness for Christ says, well, of course He saved you. If He didn't save you, He was a liar, because He said if you opened the door and invited Him in, He would come in, and He doesn't lie. And that right there is the reason why the great majority of evangelical organizations today are filled up with lost people. Right there. Now let's go through that scenario for a moment. Do you know you're a sinner? And sometimes we say it, we want to not be too serious about all this. Now you know everybody's a sinner, don't you?
Ouch.
My mother's been diagnosed with cancer. My mother-in-law has just recently been diagnosed with cancer. What would you think of a doctor who walked up to both of them and said, now you know you got cancer, don't you? The way we talk about sin betrays our ignorance of the absolute devastation of the thing.
Ouch. The voice you're hearing is Paul Washer.
We talk to men about sin. What is wrong with being solemn? We live in such a trite age, and we all march in a Vanity Fair, where everyone wants to wear bright colors and ignore the fact that everyone's marching off a cliff into eternal destruction. Societies as we know them, the West, is crumbling before us, and we still choose to be trite and frivolous and happy. The fact of the matter is, man is twisted and broken and dead. The fact of the matter is, a judgment is coming. The fact of the matter is, all that we can see will be melted as with fire. And so we look to men and say, now you know you're a sinner, don't you? And usually we'll even say this, because we've been taught this in seminary. We say, well, you know we are all sinners. We don't want to just say you, because we don't want you to feel isolated and guilty by yourself. I do want you to feel isolated and guilty by yourself, because only in that will you come to see your need for Christ. You know you're a sinner, don't you? And if they say yes, we go on. Now let's go back. If someone says yes to the question, do you know you're a sinner? It means absolutely nothing. Go ask the devil. You know you're a sinner, don't you? He say, well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do, and I happen to be just about the best. The question is not, do you recognize you are a sinner? The question is this: since you have heard me preach the gospel, has God done such a work in your heart that the sin you once loved you now hate? And the righteousness you once hated and ignored you now desire? That's the question. Everyone knows they're a sinner. They just don't realize how heinous and terrible that is. Nor do they want to let go of the very thing that they choose to drink down as though it were water. So you see, the question is not, do you recognize you're a sinner? The question is, sir, as I have been speaking to you, or maybe it's long-term discipleship over a period of time, sir, as I've been sharing with you and discipling you, what has God done to your heart? People come to me all the time and they say, I have a new relationship with God. And I say, well, do you have a new relationship with sin? Because if you don't have a new relationship with sin, you don't have a new relationship with God.
That is the test.